do this, brother.
Yeah, most people when they ask what's under the hood, they're kind of expecting like a V8 engine, but we run the Toyota GR Supra 3-liter inline 6, and it's turbocharged with nitrous, and so like there's a lot going on, and so it starts another conversation about like, oh, how do you guys do that? What's done to the engine? So we've had a lot of experience with building race engines and race cars, starting in drag racing, over 20 years ago. And back then, you just need to make that quarter mile, and if it blew up, but you won, you're still fine with that. But nowadays, we make actually more power than we made, with some of the earlier drag racing stuff. But we need these engines to last for a season. So it's been fun, developing these so they have endurance and stamina over a whole season, but still make that high horsepower. Yeah, one of the keys to making these engines survive is the ethanol fuel. We use like an E90% blend of ethanol, and that helps the cooling for the intake charge from the turbocharger. It helps knock resistance so it doesn't want to ping or knock. It makes it more reliable in that way. So the fuel is a really big thing. And then the tuning. So these modern electronics that we use for the fuel injection systems, we tune it so on the turbo it's really reliable, and then we also run nitrous on top of that boost. And so the nitrous is injected through these 6 nozzles, 1 to each cylinder, and the fuel goes through the fuel injected system. So we can actually tune with the electronics to get the perfect fuel ratio from the turbocharger, the nitrous, and then there's a whole data logging system. So there's sensors all over from like the normal temperatures and pressures, but also air fuel ratio and NOx sensors and all of this. And so like throughout sessions throughout the day, we're always looking at that data and continuing to tune the engine and make sure like if there's a problem starting, we can catch it earlier and fix it instead of it turning into something catastrophic.
I'm just like fine tuning the calibration and dialing in boost control, making sure that the nitrous is operating correctly. So like I can build a track map from the GPS sensor, and then we can kind of reference the laps that he's doing by this data. So he's running the same laps for me, and I can make a change in the car. And if it's a big enough change, you can see it in the way that the car ramps up to speed, or maybe carries speed around this turn, and or how many G's he pulls in this turn. So that is a very valuable part of this. I mean, they're all squiggly lines, but in here I'm gonna have the target lambda, RPM, throttle position. These are temperatures for maiden things. Over here we'll have like the maximum temperature, so like you can fire this up and just see, oil temp was at 250. Is that high for us? Let's see if that was in a special spot or not.
I do share almost everything when people ask about tuning stuff. And the idea is that we have drivers on the track that are competing, driver versus driver, and the car is their tool. And I think all of us want a really good show, and us having unreliable cars hurts everybody. So if we can share a little bit to help each other become more reliable and more consistent with our car builds, I think it just helps the show and helps bring the whole sport up. So the crew that we have here all want to be at the racetrack. I mean, we've got guys that are, as old as 50 years old, and they've been doing this, for a lifetime. And they still get super motivated to come out and work on the car. And so one of my jobs is to make sure that everybody wants to be at the track, enjoys being here, and is focused in doing their job, not just hanging out, right? And fortunately, we have a group of guys that is the case. I think one of the things that helps being a good leader is just making a decision. Like everybody's looking at each other and someone's just gonna say, okay, well, this is the thing we're gonna do. We only have time for one thing. I will take responsibility if it's not right, but this is what we're gonna try. Let's do it. There's a time for democracy, and there's a time for, we're at a racetrack, we just get this thing done. So I do want to hear what everybody has to say, but at the end of the day, let's just do this. So I've been building drift cars now for 20 years, and I don't think there's any silver bullet on what's this main thing I've learned, other than get the fundamentals right. Make sure that everything's reliable, you've got spare parts, you've got a good crew, you guys are on top, as long as you're on top of everything, you just build on that. And so using that philosophy, we've evolved that with more sophisticated engines and more sophisticated electronics, better tires, and so all of that but builds on that foundation of the fundamentals.
So we have a major update this year, which is going to the Kenda Vesta tires. We more or less kept the same mechanical setup in the car because that is our known baseline. And we started working from there. Then it's a matter of tire pressure changes. It's a matter of sway bar settings, getting the balance right, front and rear. And with this particular new Kenda setup, we have a lot more front grip, which allows us to add a lot more rear grip. So you want sort of a neutral balance in the car, not too much understeer, certainly not too much oversteer. And having the better front has allowed us to have more jacking in the car and basically push more mechanical bite to the rear of the car.
We've all been working together for going on, what, 5 or 6 years now? So everybody kind of knows each other very well, and I'm fully confident in everything that everybody does.
You have to fully believe in the program and have the right people behind you, or you're not going to make it. Yeah. Blind faith.
Yeah.
For real. You got to believe it's going to work, you know, like positive mental attitude.
I think one of the things that makes drifting really popular for the fans is that you can go to the event and you can talk to the drivers, you can look at the cars up close, you can even touch them, talk to the crew guys if you're into being a mechanic or whatever. Like, there's an interaction there between a lot of guys and girls that are into modifying their cars, and they can relate in some ways, like looking at someone work on the car and then, you know, maybe they go back to their own garage and work on it themselves. So the goals for this team is to come in hot, motivated, have good communication, have, you know, the best event we can, and we'll let the results fall where they may for that weekend. And then over the time throughout the entire championship, the championship will either come to us or it'll go away from us. And then as long as we get through to the other side, knowing that we put all of our effort in and did everything that we could do, we've got to end with a smile on our face at the end of the year. If we don't, then we're probably doing the wrong thing.
And Fredric continues on. Boom, right there, once again, just like clockwork. Fredric, the Norwegian Hammer Aasbo, gets the win in his Rockstar energy drink. Kenda Tire, Toyota Supra.